When ChatGPT launched, millions of people started using it. But one engineer noticed something nobody else cared about. The biggest problem with ChatGPT wasn't what it could do. It was everything it couldn't organize. No folders, no saved prompts, no way to ever find that one perfect conversation again. So before most of the world even knew the word prompt, he'd already built a browser extension to fix it. No team, no funding, just a guy annoyed at his own chat history. Here's where that annoyance ended up. Over 420,000 downloads, 150,000 people using it every single week, 5 figures a month in revenue, no outside funding ever, and he didn't build anything. ChatGPT didn't already sort of have, he just organized the mess. That's it. So how does I organize the mess turn into a real business? Let's get into it. Meet Saeed Ezzati. 10 years as a software engineer. Full stack roles at places like IBM, Copy.ai, Apartment List. A stint around Y Combinator. Nothing on that resume screams founder. He was the guy building other people's products. But on the side, he had a habit. Building little tools for himself, nights and weekends. None of it meant to go anywhere. Then ChatGPT launched. And in November 2022, it was genuinely useful, but the experience around it was rough. Great conversation, close tab, gone forever. No folders, no search worth using. And if you had a prompt that actually worked, there was no way to save it. You just retyped it every time. Saeed wasn't thinking market opportunity. He was just annoyed. His own chat history was turning into clutter, and he wanted a way to organize it. So he built one for himself. Not a eureka moment, a mildly irritating Tuesday. He called it Superpower ChatGPT. Building the extension itself wasn't the hard part. Saeed had the skills to ship version 1 fast. The hard part was this. His product lived entirely inside somebody else's house. And OpenAI at the time was changing ChatGPT's interface constantly. Buttons moved, features shipped and broke, rate limits shifted without warning. Every update was a gamble. His extension could just stop working overnight. No warning, no changelog written for him. He'd find out because users complained, or because he opened it himself and it was broken. And he was doing this completely alone. No team, no funding, no safety net. If something broke, he fixed it, usually at midnight. For a long stretch, running Superpower ChatGPT wasn't really building. It was reacting. Watching a platform he didn't own, and patching his product every time it moved under him. So how does a solo dev with zero marketing budget get to 420,000 downloads? Honestly, by being early, not by being clever. Superpower shipped in the first week. ChatGPT existed. That timing turned out to be everything. It became the first ChatGPT-related extension in the Chrome Web Store. At the exact moment, millions of people were discovering ChatGPT and hitting its limits. His tool was already sitting there, solving that exact frustration. He wasn't competing with 20 other extensions. He was just first. From there, growth was less campaign, more showing up where the conversation already existed. Product Hunt, Reddit, where people were already complaining about ChatGPT and sharing prompts. He just joined as a person, shared what he'd built. Let people tell him what was broken. Twitter, same thing. Steady updates, no big launch moment. The strategic part that's easy to miss. Saeed never treated the product and the distribution as separate jobs. The extension became the on-ramp to an email newsletter. Superpower Daily aimed at people already curious about AI. The newsletter pulled users back into the product. Feedback from Discord, reviews, and Reddit fed directly back into what got built next. It wasn't a funnel, it was a loop. The product feeding the audience feeding the product. Here's a decision that probably mattered more than anything else in this story. Saeed didn't charge anyone for 9 months. Not a trial, not a freemium teaser. Actually free for the better part of a year. Why? Because he was building something people needed to trust before they pay for it. ChatGPT itself was new. A third-party tool layered on top of it was new. Asking for a credit card on day one would have killed the whole thing before it had a chance to prove itself. So the free version just had to be genuinely useful, no catch. Eventually the pricing came in, split along a line that makes sense once you say it. Casual users stay free, power users pay. The free plan caps you at a handful of folders and saved prompts. Fine for dipping a toe in the pro plan, around $10 a month, removes the caps. Unlimited folders, prompts, full conversation trees, bulk exports, the works. You don't pay because you tried it once. You pay because you're in there every day, and the limits start getting in your way. Here's the surprising part. There's a second revenue line almost nobody saw coming. That newsletter, Superpower Daily, grew into its own thing, 350,000 subscribers, and its own income through sponsorships, entirely separate from the extension. Two income streams, both born from the same original itch, an engineer trying to clean up his own ChatGPT history. It's tempting to say he just got lucky with timing, and sure, timing helped. But timing alone doesn't explain the 150,000 weekly active users 3 years later. A few things had to actually be true at once. He wasn't guessing. He built this for an annoyance he lived with daily, so the early decisions weren't research. They were instinct. He never asked anyone to change their habits. Superpower just sat inside the place people already were. And the free version wasn't bait. For 9 straight months, it was just genuinely good, no catch. That bought him something no ad spend can buy. Trust, before he ever asked for $1. Then, when the money did show up, it followed how deep people were using the thing, not whether they'd opened it once. Revenue grew right alongside how valuable the product actually was to each person. None of that is exotic. It's the same handful of decisions held onto for years by someone who kept paying attention, but it's worth being honest about the risk underneath it too. Saeed himself has said that if he could do it again, he'd have invested earlier in his own web app and in testing, something to catch a broken build before open. AI's next surprise update did it for him, because here's the uncomfortable part. This entire business lives on top of somebody else's platform. That platform can change the rules whenever it wants. That's not a flaw unique to Saeed. It's the deal. Every builder makes the moment their product depends on someone else's interface. So what actually transfers? If you're trying to build something like this, start with a problem you genuinely have. Not one from a market report. You only notice the small annoyances if you're living with them. Ship the version that solves one thing well, long before it feels ready. And if you're entering a space where trust doesn't exist yet, give something away for free and actually mean it. Just don't confuse free to get people in the door with no plan for how this makes money. That's the playbook. Here's the part underneath it that matters just as much. Right now, thousands of people are doing exactly what Saeed did in November 2022, building small sharp tools on top of somebody else's AI. ChatGPT, Claude, whatever ships next year, same move, different platform. Most of them will get wiped out the first time. That platform ships an update that quietly does what their product used to do. That's not a hypothetical. It's already the most common way these companies die. A few won't, and the difference usually isn't the code. It's how deep they went into a real problem and how much trust they built before they ever ask for money. Because a feature can be copied overnight, but trust can't. This is what we explore at AI Indie Lab. How independent founders build AI tools, find users, and turn ideas into businesses. Subscribe for more AI business case studies.